Every time I think I understand how Hollywood works, some new story comes along and just punches me in the throat. And nothing hit harder than the moment I found out Moana, this wholesome, inspiring, ocean-vibed Disney movie, was almost swallowed alive by a $10 billion lawsuit that hung over it like a doom cloud. $10 billion. The kind of money where even billionaires get sweaty. The kind of money where Mickey Mouse would have had to start selling plasma. The kind of money where Disney executives probably went home every night and hugged their lawyers like emotional support animals. And the wildest part? You probably never heard the full chaos of it because Disney did that thing Disney always does, smiled politely, hid the bodies, and moved like nothing happened. But behind the curtain, behind that shiny castle logo, oh bro, the vibes were rancid. So picture this. It's the early 2000s, and there's this animator dude named Buck Woodall. And look, I'm not saying the name sounds made up, but if you told me it belonged to a guy who sells fireworks out of a shed behind an abandoned Walmart, I'd believe you without blinking. And Buck has this screenplay, this story, these ideas he's been sending around Hollywood like those, "Hey babe" texts you always regret at 3 a.m. He allegedly passes the thing to a development exec. It goes into the mysterious corporate void where ideas either get turned into blockbusters or become mulch. And years later, boom, Disney drops Moana. And Buck looks at the movie like, wait, hold up, that's my surfer boy. Those are my island vibes. That's my whole aesthetic. Somebody hand me a lawyer before I pass out. So he files the lawsuit of the century. Not a cute little, give me $50,000 and an apology. No, my man swung for the fences and demanded 2.5% of all Moana revenue, which is like walking into a bank, looking at the vault, and asking for everything but the dust. And I can't lie. Part of me respects the audacity. It's like watching someone play poker with no money and just vibes. Meanwhile, imagine being at Disney HQ. You spent years building this inspirational cultural masterpiece. You're marketing empowerment, family, legacy. The damn ocean is alive and helpful. And suddenly some guy appears like an anime villain screaming, "You stole my whole flow! Bar for bar!" You'd be pacing around your office wondering which ancestor you wronged. Because even if you're innocent, even if you've never even heard of this man in your life, you know lawsuits live and breathe on technicalities, not feelings. Access, notes, drafts, emails. One intern misfiles something, and suddenly Moana is property of a guy named Buck. The risk alone could give you acid reflux for months. And look, I don't know if you've ever witnessed Disney in threat detected mode, but it is not cute. The way they fortify, they pull out lawyers who have assistants who have more lawyers. It's like facing a hydra made of people who bill at $900 an hour. They show up to court wearing suits worth more than your car. They breathe legalese. They blink in footnotes. They don't sleep. They regenerate. So the case drags on. Almost a decade of shadowboxing between a global empire and a single human being who genuinely believes he's owed billions. And during all of this, Moana becomes a cultural phenomenon. People sing the songs in the shower. Kids dress as the characters for Halloween. Parents who haven't slept since 2014 slowly lose their sanity hearing How Far I'll Go for the 600th time. The movie wins awards. It becomes untouchable. And at the same time, Disney's probably sitting there like, oh God, please, please don't let this end with us handing someone a check the size of a small nation's GDP. Then we finally get to March 2025, Trial Day, the moment of truth. And let me tell you, if this were a movie, we'd get the dramatic build-up, the suspense, the monologues, the tearful testimonies. But real life said, nah, bro, we're skipping the filler episode. Because after 2 weeks of arguing, the jury goes into deliberation and comes back in, wait for it, under 3 hours. That's not just a verdict, that's a speed run. That's the court system equivalent of looking at the claims, shrugging, and saying, yeah, we're good, fam, wrap it up. The jury basically said Disney couldn't have stolen anything because they never had access to Buck's stuff. which is chord speak for even if your work kind of resembles Moana, that doesn't mean they copied you. Calm down. And just like that, the $10 billion threat evaporated. Like Thanos got tired of it. Poof, gone. Disney execs probably went home and slept better than they had since 2016. But here's the interesting part, and the reason I'm even talking about this like a guy ranting in the corner of a bar at 1 a.m. This wasn't some loud, trending, headline everywhere story. Most people have literally never heard that Moana almost got nuked by a lawsuit bigger than the GDP of actual countries. And that's what makes the whole thing feel insane. Because behind the scenes, while everyone else was vibing with the cute pig and the giant crab singing about being shiny, there was this whole legal war happening that could have rewritten the history of the movie. Not creatively, but financially, reputationally, existentially. You don't just lose $10 billion and walk away with a smile. If the verdict had gone the other way, the fallout would have been catastrophic. Like Disney stock drops so hard your grandpa's retirement account starts crying. Like Moana becomes the Voldemort of movies and nobody's allowed to say her name again. Catastrophic. And what kills me is how clean Disney made it all look. They walked out of the courthouse the way a cat walks away from a shattered vase, pretending it wasn't involved. A little dust shake, a little smile, and back to business. But deep down, they knew how close they came to disaster. Because even a baseless lawsuit, if timed right, can wreak havoc on anything. And this one hung over them for years. Imagine trying to build a franchise while someone is constantly claiming in the background, actually, that's mine. It's like trying to start a family while your neighbor insists he invented intimacy. But here's the final punchline. The moment that made me sit up like, nah, the universe is trolling. After all the drama, after all the filings and hearings, after the trial and the verdict, after the whole thing ends like a deflated balloon, Disney just went right back to expanding Moana like nothing ever happened. Sequels, live-action remakes, merch, theme park expansion. They were like, cool, thanks for playing. Anyway, here's another boat and a talking tattoo. And I can't blame them, because at the end of the day, Moana was never just a movie. It was a billion-dollar tidal wave, a cultural reset, a piece of IP so powerful, Disney would have fought for it the way a mom fights someone who touches her kid's lunchbox. But the part that stays with me isn't the verdict. It's the idea that one man, one guy with a script and a dream, genuinely believed he was David going up against the world's most financially engineered Goliath. And for a moment, just a moment, the studio had to consider that maybe, possibly, events could twist just right, and he might actually win. That's the chaos of Hollywood. That's the madness. That's the reason people chase movies like religion, because sometimes the smallest spark threatens to burn down the biggest castle, and everyone pretends they don't smell smoke. And the funniest part? After the verdict dropped, after the $10 billion evaporated, after Disney strutted away victorious, after Buck Woodall probably went home wishing he had at least asked for $9 billion instead, the rest of the world just kept watching Moana like nothing ever happened. Kids kept singing, parents kept suffering, life went on. But behind the scenes, behind the corporate smiles and ocean metaphors, there was a moment, a real moment, where one of the most beloved films of the last decade was almost dragged into the courtroom abyss forever. And nobody told you. And that's why I'm here. Not to tell a story, not to break it down, just to be the drunk friend who leans in way too close and whispers, "Bro, you won't believe what almost happened."